The royal family has faced scandals before, but insiders say nothing prepared the palace for the moment King Charles finally decided enough was enough. Behind the grand gates and polished public smiles, a quiet war had been building for years, and now it had reached breaking point. According to people close to the situation, Harry believed there was still one final way back into the royal circle. He privately reached out to his father asking if he, Meghan, and the children could come to Sandringham for a family visit. To the public, it sounded emotional and sincere, a son trying to heal old wounds while time still allowed it. But inside royal walls, the request landed very differently. Advisors reportedly warned Charles that this was not simply about family. Sandringham carried status, protection, and significance far beyond a normal visit. Harry's battle for security in Britain had already become one of the biggest frustrations in his life after repeated court defeats. An invitation from the king could have changed that overnight. Yet Charles gave nothing back. No reply. No quiet reassurance. Just silence so cold it reportedly shocked even people close to Harry. Then came the move that set everything on fire. Harry publicly spoke about wanting his children to spend time with their grandfather, knowing full well the world would immediately turn its attention towards a palace. It placed Charles in an impossible position. Accept a visit and risk reopening doors the monarchy had spent years trying to close, or refuse and appear heartless towards his own grandchildren while battling illness. Palace insiders later described it as emotional pressure dressed up as reconciliation. But what truly changed attitudes behind closed doors was the speed that followed the rejection. Almost immediately, stories began appearing portraying Harry and Meghan as devastated parents being unfairly shut out by the royal family. Sympathy pieces spread quickly, painting the couple as victims desperate for peace. To experienced palace staff, it looked coordinated rather than genuine. And according to insiders, that was the moment Charles finally understood there was no repairing this relationship in the way he once hoped. What began years ago as family tension had now become a public strategy played out through headlines, legal threats, and emotional narratives. The trust had gone, and everyone around the king could see it clearly. What made matters even worse was a growing belief inside royal circles that every new crisis followed the same pattern. Whenever criticism surrounded Harry and Meghan, another carefully timed public moment suddenly appeared to shift attention elsewhere. Palace officials reportedly began noticing it after their overseas appearances started attracting backlash instead of praise. One trip in particular caused serious concern behind closed doors. It was meant to repair their image and remind the world they still carried influence beyond royal life. Instead, it became another disaster. Publicly, the tour focused on charity work, compassion, and community support. Cameras captured emotional visits and carefully managed appearances. But the mood changed quickly after reports emerged about exclusive events linked to Meghan where wealthy guests allegedly paid huge sums for luxury experiences connected to her presence. Critics questioned how a trip presented as humanitarian suddenly looked tied to expensive networking opportunities for elite audiences. Yet nothing compared to the outrage that followed a hospital visit involving seriously ill children. The appearance had been described as private and compassionate, but within hours fashion websites were circulating links showing exactly where people could buy Meghan's outfit. Online reaction exploded. Many felt deeply uncomfortable seeing commercial promotion appear so closely linked to children battling severe illness. Questions grew louder when reports claimed parts of the publicity operation may have benefited business networks connected to the Sussex brand itself. Whether true or not, the damage was immediate. Public anger spread rapidly, especially once taxpayers learned how much security for the trip allegedly cost. In Britain, palace officials watched the fallout carefully. To them, it confirmed fears they had quietly held for years, that Harry and Meghan no longer understood where public sympathy ended and personal branding began. Then came another moment insiders say deeply upset Charles. Just days before the king prepared for sensitive international meetings while undergoing cancer treatment, Harry delivered comments abroad that pulled him directly into political controversy. Palace aides were reportedly horrified by the timing. Charles was already physically exhausted, carrying the weight of the crown while privately fighting illness, yet once again another headline involving Harry threatened to overshadow everything. People close to the monarchy say William viewed these repeated situations very differently from his father. Charles still searched for peace where possible. William had stopped believing peace was realistic a long time ago. For him, protecting the institution mattered more than repairing personal relationships. And by that stage, according to several insiders, He no longer believed Harry and Meghan could be trusted not to create further damage. Behind all the emotion, however, sits a reality far more serious than public arguments or newspaper headlines. Money, security, and survival have quietly become the real story. Since stepping away from royal duties, Harry and Meghan have had to maintain an extremely expensive level of private protection without the support they once received automatically as senior royals. Legal defeats in Britain only made the pressure worse. According to reports, security costs alone now consume staggering amounts every year, forcing the couple into a constant battle to remain commercially successful. That pressure explains why every project, interview, documentary, and public appearance feels so urgent. Visibility has become essential. Without public attention, the value attached to their titles and personal brand begins fading dangerously fast. Deals that once looked enormous reportedly delivered less than expected. Partnerships ended quietly, and insiders claimed discussions even took place about whether California had become too expensive to sustain long-term. Rumors spread that other countries were considered as possible options, not out of adventure but necessity. Yet every alternative created another problem. Away from America, opportunities shrink. Far away from Britain, the royal connection loses power. And without that royal connection, much of the global fascination surrounding Harry and Meghan disappears completely. Palace insiders reportedly understand this better than anyone. That is why the silence from the monarchy has become so devastating. No dramatic fights. No angry statements. No emotional public battles. Just distance. Invitations stopped coming. Defenses stopped being offered. The family simply carried on without them. And according to those watching closely, that silence is what frightens Harry and Meghan most. Anger can still create headlines. Conflict keeps people interested. But indifference is different. Once the public loses interest entirely, there is no strategy powerful enough to bring it back. Right now, that slow shift may already be happening. Not through one huge scandal or explosive moment, but through exhaustion. People are growing tired of the endless cycle. And if the world finally moves on, the couple may discover something far more painful than rejection from the palace, being forgotten altogether.